What's up, y'all? We're back at it again for another episode of True Talks. Today, I'm super excited. I know I say that every time because I'm excited to speak to pretty much anyone, but there are certain people that I really want to have on this show. And when I can make it happen, it always excites me even more. And so with that being said, I'm not even going to give her the type of intro that's all long-winded like most guests gets. I'm just going to bring her in. I have Jody Chafee from the Family Culture Movement podcast with me today. And you're going to find out everything you need to know about who she is, her podcast, and what she came here to do, and how she lives her life daily and what, she feels like her purpose is right after I finish talking. So come on with it.
Thanks,
Hi,
Denise.
Jody.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. So I'm happy to see that you're able to join me today. I know we've been talking about it. Yeah. Oh, man. So, just to give you guys a brief history, I know I'm being a little silly right now. I did appear on her podcast. So if you'd like to check out that episode as well as many others, definitely go back and do that. But yes. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on you, Jody. What you want to come here and talk to me about, girl? Like, what is on your mind?
Whoa. Oh, man. Don't get me started. No, just kidding. How much time do you have, Trinise?
Oh, man. Listen, the people are counting. You know, they got short attention spans around here.
Okay. We'll get to the point now.
Yeah.
No. Well, I loved having you on my show because we talked about, what is going on in our dominant culture that is dysfunctional. And, it was great being able to talk to you about systemic racism and how we as our families can implement better practices, better behaviors and beliefs around racism and how we can diversify our homes and what that looks like. And it was really impactful and inspiring to talk to you about that. And so that's really like my thing is I like to explore what is going on in the dominant culture. And dominant culture, I mean like mainstream culture, right? Like what we expect, what we come to expect, or what we've come to accept as kind of normal, right? And like we just kind of accept it because that's just the way that it is. That's the custom. It's how it's accepted widely. And that doesn't always mean that that's a good thing. In fact, most of the time, in my experience, it's not. It's like it's stuff that we just kind of come to expect and accept in our culture. And it's actually dysfunctional and detrimental to our society. And it's starting to deteriorate our culture at large. And so my message ends up being kind of countercultural.
Right.
In that regard.
And you're doing a really good job of that, like with the podcast.
Thank you.
I mean, each episode I feel like reaches a new height because your guest brings like a new topic that you get to weigh in on and consider about what that culture really is. Too often we use like culture and society, those are big terms, right? But you, I feel like, do a really great job of breaking down each one of those things and also relating it to people who are tuning in. So kudos to you.
Well, it's there's that quote from oh my goodness, I just had a brain fuzz. Oh, okay.
Look, it happens every time we try to recall something and use it. So you're not alone with that.
Well, I would put it as a tagline at the end of almost every episode, and I stopped doing that. But Mother Teresa said that if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. And so that is the ultimate point of what I try to bring up in these conversations is that if we want to change what society believes, everything, it comes down to socialization, social conditioning. And it's social conditioning within our homes, within our communities and schools, but mostly within our homes. And whether we recognize it or not, because we are socialized within our homes when we just turn all our kids over to community and their friends. We lose that it's not that we have stopped influencing our kids. We've just given it up to somebody else, right? And true. So it's really about the social conditioning is what I want to help parents realize is that they need to take that back into their hands of the way that they are raising their kids to help them understand like everything they do impacts our society, our culture, And so it's important to be intentional about it, not just, wing it, or not just go, you know what, let's just take this mainstream culture highway and put it on coast or put it on cruise control and just see where it takes us.
Yeah.
And we know where that's taking us, and it's not good.
Right. Right. No, I think that's key. Like, I love that about your show too. It's like, because I know a lot of it you cater to like families and people with children, but I don't have kids, and I'm able to like tune in and learn how I'm playing my role in all of this, and so
Yep.
to those of you listening, even though she's most times targeting the way that people parent, I think you'd agree with that. Those who are not parents like myself, you can still look at yourself as an individual in the larger scheme and see what can I change,
Yeah. Because we are all impacting, and we're all impacted by, and we're all impacting, influencing what we, it's we vote with our wallets. We vote with how we spend our time and how we consume our social media and internet. All of those things translate out, and they spread out to what is growing.
Right.
And so it's like, it's not just about families. It's about, we have to be able to recognize these things in ourselves, and then it becomes easier to influence our families and our friends and our communities from there. So
yeah, I'm here for it. And so, like,
awesome.
one thing that you do, you ask your guests, like all of your guests get this question, something along the lines of what do they consider dysfunctional in society, right? I'm going to flip that over to you. I know that you just gave me
no.
oh no, see, look, as podcasters, we do this often. We're always sitting in the interviewer chair. So today is your day to chill and get the questions right. And I'm still in the interviewer chair. So I don't know what to say about that, but what do you consider dysfunctional, and what's most pressing to you in terms of resolving that dysfunction?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hinges on what I said just a minute ago, where when we give up the ability to influence our kids, that's what the dominant culture, like, parents have basically undercut themselves by giving up their power to lead their kids. So I talk about family culture like it's a road trip. Like I said, we get on this mainstream highway and we're going to put it on cruise control. That's a lot of times what we end up doing, because we're going, well, there's no handbook instructions on how to be a family or how to be a person. It's like I'm still figuring out this whole adulting thing, and there's and my kids will tell you that's not a verb, because there's this funny show that, anyways, another subject, but it's there's a jingle like I'm adulting in this show that they watch, and they're like, that's not a verb. And it's like we've made it into this thing that's outside of our capacity as human beings. Like, I can't adult today, right? And so we just kind of think, oh, there's no handbook of instruction how to grow up and how to then have a family. And yet that's what we're told is like the right thing to do, quote unquote, right? Is to grow up, have a job, and be a responsible adult and pay your bills and blah, 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 right? All those things. and then start a family and become a family is another thing. Like, if you have not like figured yourself out, and then you're expected to have a partner and have children, and you're just going, oh my goodness. And so we're in a crisis where so many people are thinking like, I didn't even know how to be a person. And then somebody threw kids into my lap, or a career that I don't even know if this is what I want, or, even whatever it is. And so that's how it happened with me and my family, where we were going to school, we're doing the things, checking off all the right boxes. And then we both, Michael and I, my husband, graduated college, right? That's what you're supposed to do, first of all.
Right.
Quote unquote. Right. And we finished school right at the height of the recession. And I'd had 4 kids in that time, right? Like, so I'm doing family thing, doing the mom thing, and I finished school during that time. And I didn't know whether I was going to have a career or not, but I knew that I wanted to develop myself as a person anyway. But then Michael was like, okay, you're the breadwinner, then you're going to go to get a job. And there were no jobs, it was like nothing was available. So he just kind of took whatever came up. And he was so unhappy so dissatisfied. And I was like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? We're trying to come up with like a 5-year plan, right? And I'm like, all I see for the next 5 years is more pain, because you're going to keep going to a job that you hate, or go back and get more schooling and go into more debt. And so we were just kind of like gritting our teeth through this life, going, how did we get so far away from our dreams, or what we thought we were supposed to be doing, and people claiming was quote unquote success,
Right.
right? And so we give up this ability to dream, because we're supposed to just kind of follow this mainstream culture, because we don't have any other handbook. And so we just kind of cling on to whatever we can that is claiming this is gonna help us to lead to somewhere, right? And then we get 5-10 years into that path, and we're like, oh man, this kind of sucks. this isn't fun at all. I didn't learn how to adult. I still, I've got bills up to my eyeballs, and I've got, I'm weight gaining and life going crazy, and I hate my job, and I kind of hate this family thing now,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you get to that place where you're going, how did I get so far from what I thought I was supposed to be doing? And so that is like, we've given up our ability to lead our families and our own lives, be leaders in our own lives, right? To take our lives by the reins, because we just go, well, I don't know what to do, so I'll just coast through. I'll just put this thing in cruise control and follow the mainstream culture.
Yeah.
And that's just not good enough. That's not the true definition of success, even, and yet that's what we're told. Okay, if you're climbing the corporate ladder, you have a family, you've got a good paycheck, then that's quote unquote success. Well, how many people know that that money does not solve your problems, or the people who win the lottery and then they become totally in debt a year
Right.
later, or
Right.
they're bankrupt a year later and stuff. We're not learning the skills and the mindset that is leading to true success,
Right.
because we're just passively going through this life and
Yeah.
just,
And
yeah.
like success is so broadly defined by like everyone, right? Because like for me, if I had to define it, I think some more the comedian said this best. I mean, she was partly joking, but I related to it, and it kind of sticks to me. When I think of success, it's not necessarily what I obtained, but what I'm able to afford comfortably. And
Mm-hmm.
so if I'm able to pay for things without having to ask someone for help, that's success to me. Like if I'm able to cover everything without asking for help, I'm
Yeah.
successful,
Yeah.
but to others, success can be, multimillionaire, like all the high end cars, or just
Sure.
stability of different kinds, right? Or just emotionally. Because I think right
Yeah.
now we're looking at this society now. I definitely see a change, right? Like, so the way in which we view it, the things that we've worked through as individuals, trying to maintain individuality in this society,
Mm-hmm.
this new wave of generation that's coming up now, everything is at their fingertips, and they're becoming like overnight sensations.
Right.
And so much of their careers, I think, are getting established a whole lot earlier. And so they're tapping into that individuality a lot sooner than maybe you and I were able to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think that that's a little weird, because they missed some steps along the way, and then they have a whole host of other issues they
Right.
have to address, right?
Because
Because
they
fame
haven't
too
developed
quick.
some character along the
Right.
way.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
like, fame too quick is just not, you're now the identity of what you portray versus what you were created to be,
Yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
know. So
Mm-hmm.
where we get that, and we just, I think, conform to society in a sense because we had to, they're
Mm-hmm.
not even aware of that.
Oh yeah, no,
Um
there's so much to that, Trinice, like that kids are being sucked into this virtual world.
yeah.
It's like this augmented reality that is it's not even real.
Right.
That these kids, they don't even know how to, more and more, even kids, people my age, and we've lost the ability to know how to communicate with people face to face. And we
Right.
think, oh, this digital, this texting, this Instagram, this whatever, that's normal. And so yeah, again, this is drifting down this mainstream, this undercurrent of social conditioning that is just okay. We just
Right.
kind of blindly accept it, and then next thing we know, we don't realize how far off we are from from
And I guess
reality.
like that leads me to my question for you is like, where is that happy medium? Where do we keep certain parts of this new age digitized living and other parts that we've lost? I think COVID is making people really, this whole quarantine and pandemic is making people really assess how much of what they want to keep.
Yeah, yeah. It's been really cool to watch because it's like people, schools shut down, work shut down, so families are having to like actually face their demons here. Like, whoa,
Right.
I didn't even know you before this pandemic thing happened because our
Now
lives
people are
are
like,
so
I really
busy and
don't know you.
yeah,
No, I'm kidding.
no, right? Well, our lives have become so disjointed and disconnected, and we're
Right.
just roommates, sharing passing each other in the hall and stuff, and but this pandemic is like, wow, we have to like see each other and be face to face. And so it's like when I saw that happening and people were
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh, I have to homeschool my kids, and I have to work remotely and maybe start a business, or I was like, yes, this is
Right.
wonderful, that we're actually turning inwards towards our families instead
Right.
of spreading out and spreading ourselves thin, really. And a lot of families did slow down and they cut back, and I was like, people, I'd see parents like, oh my goodness, this remote schooling thing and trying to do it with all these kids and maintaining the house. And I was like, okay, here's what you do. Write to your school district and say, I'm withdrawing my children and we are going on vacation, even or staycation, right?
Right.
I'm like, you don't have to comply to all of the little expectations. You can choose. So to answer your question,
Mm-hmm.
the balance is when we stop and evaluate what we really want instead of just blindly complying and accepting stuff, but we're so wrapped up in cultural and societal expectations that have been socially conditioned into us, right? That it's our standards of morals and social and communication and interaction is deteriorating, right?
Right.
And and so my advice is to just first is to stop and take into an evaluation, so I have this like roadmap. This is my framework of how to understand what your family culture is. And the first step, when you're in comparing this to this analogy of a road trip, right, and is to figure out what is this vehicle that you're in, like where did your narratives come from?
Yeah.
Who told you that you needed to, that you needed to go to school and get a job, and who told you that you're not successful until you're married and have children, whatever the narrative is, right? Whatever it is, figure out where did that come from. And because we judge ourselves based on those narratives,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times it's not fair judgment because we didn't grow up with the same kind of stories and narratives and values that our parents may have. And so, but those stories and narratives grow up with us from our parents, right?
Right.
Or from our schools and teachers or from our neighborhoods or whatever it is. And so the first thing is identify what exactly is this vehicle we're in. So what are the stories that you pack into the trunk? Or what is this something that's going to carry you the long distance throughout your life? Or is this something that you're going, this is good for now. I'm good
Right.
for now. And this is all I need for now. That's fine. I got a sports car. I'm happy with that. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
that's my life, right? My life now is minivan life, right? That's my life. But, so identifying that, because we have narratives, we have stories. And then when you have a family or, your parents, your extended family, you also have things that shape your narratives and stories, like shared experiences or history of your parents' experiences. And when they tell you about, oh, I went through this experience in high school, or this is how we met, mom and dad met, and this is the time when I fought with grandma and grandpa, or these kinds of stories also shape who we are
Right.
and what we identify as. And then and that includes, your ethnic heritage as well. Like where did your family come from? What are your roots? What do they look like? And genetically things get passed on to us,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like stop and pause and ask yourself, where does this stuff come from, right? Like my kids and I, we were listening to we like to listen to classics.
Hmm.
So we're listening to The Secret Garden.
Okay.
And, you know, and, you know, that's the one where she grew up in India and her parents were really wealthy. And so she always had an ayah. So like a nurse or something, you know, helping her, taking care of her.
Right.
But then her parents passed away from a plague. And so she ended up living with her uncle in England. And one morning she wakes up and she sees the, I don't know, the maid or assistant, somebody comes into the room and she goes, okay, I'm ready for you to dress me. And this maid's like, excuse me? You know? And she's like, well, my ayah always dressed me. And she goes, well, you're in England now and I
Right.
don't dress you. And she goes, why did they always dress you? And she goes, I don't know. Whenever I'd ask, they would say it's just the custom.
Mm.
Anytime that she would question something, they would say it's just the custom. And a lot of times we do that in our lives because that's just the way it was when we grew up. And we don't ever notice until we go somewhere else and we get a different experience and they go, hey, why do you do that? And you're like, I don't know, it's just a custom.
Right.
But it's not a custom where you are. So it's always a good idea to get new experiences in different cultures to see, why do I do that thing?
Yeah.
That's interesting, you know. And so but those things inform your narratives and your environment, the way we communicate with each other, and all of those things become your identity as of your family.
Yeah. That's a
So it's
valid point. That's a
yeah,
very valid point. And it sucks because, I instantly think of international travel, which we can't do that at the
yeah.
moment. And no one is able to really say when we'll be able to.
Yeah,
But that is an immediate way. I know some people don't have the luxury of that, but that's an immediate way of exposing yourself and really, putting yourself in those environments where you're able to be exposed to different cultures and
yeah. I
learn.
mean, that would be ideal, but you could also, you know, if you live in a community, you know, there's also cultural
Events and
differences
stuff.
between
Yeah.
rural and urban, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or affluent and less.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like if you have the opportunity to go into a new environment where it's different from your own and do some service, or you know, do some kind of, you know, if there's a way you can connect with a mentor to learn what's going on in their culture, or you can go
Right.
to a community and do some public service, or you know, those are all things that actually they will also give you that diverse experience to help you to see what it's like for
Right.
people in a different situation. Because
No, that's
right
true.
here in this country we have so much diversity, right?
Yeah,
Like
literally everyone that's international comes here too eventually. So your
exactly.
chances of meeting people from all over the world is just
Yeah.
very, especially in Nashville, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all, Nashville is a little melting pot right now. Like during the CMA festival, obviously we didn't have that this year, but there's so many people who come over, here to Nashville from all over the world,
Yeah.
and I've met so many people just working there. Like I used to work that festival and selling the merchandise to them and having to do certain transactions a certain way because there are no returns to someone who's international, and
Yeah.
you're buying off of a merchandise truck,
Uh-huh.
it's literally you buy it now and then if it's a problem during the festival, you can exchange it. But other than that, I don't know what to tell you. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, no, that's a valid point. So I guess my concern is that certain pockets don't have enough mentorship. Certain pockets of the community do not
Yeah.
have enough of the resources, pretty much. um
Yeah.
and so I guess my question would be, um how do you think that should be addressed? I know obviously develop mentorships is what people always say,
Well, yeah.
but
You know, there's a lot of mentoring from good books too.
right.
You know, if you can take some time and study classics, study international literature, you know, it's, I mean, it's still theoretical and it's still
Hmm.
academic. It's not, you know, but you're gonna get a wide perspective just from reading somebody's perspective as well. Um, I wish I had a better answer than that as far as,
No, I
you
think
know,
that was a great answer.
that's really where it begins, is learning, educating yourself of the different opportunities that are available. And then you'll start to learn how you can access other resources outside of what's immediately available because of just becoming more educated.
Right. I think that's a great answer. I mean, because I can tell you, as one that loves reading, one book has led me to another, and they always have something different in it that educates me and opens my mind. So I think that's great without putting on. Because see, some people get that question, and they like, you know, policy wise and politically,
Oh
oh, we
yeah,
need more
that would be
mentorships. We need this, and then you never see those things happen. But
yeah.
that's way more feasible. You know,
Yeah.
read. You know,
Yeah, I would love to see things happening in policy, but the
yeah.
reality is, and okay, this is something that I was listening to recently and learning. It's like our society is becoming so much more polarized,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that, you say, how do we blend or get in this middle ground of being able to learn, accept what's going on in the general culture while being deliberate about our own culture. The reality is, like, it's we just need to make a conscious choice.
Right.
It's it was a talk that I was listening to recently that was like, the world is becoming more polarized, and if you're just treading water, then it's going to pull you in one direction or the other. It's not good enough to tread water, and not choosing is making a choice,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so really we just need to make a choice and start doing things for ourselves. And then yeah, I would love to see things happening in policy, but it
Yeah.
starts with ourselves. It starts with our ability to recognize, what can I do to start impacting a change, and then start there, right? Like,
See.
live where you stand type of thing. Like, you're not gonna make a change and impact anybody if you're not doing it yourself, right?
Right.
Like,
You'll
so
just be talking like everyone else. You know, you got
yeah.
to put action behind intention, you know. See, now y'all starting to get what I have on this show now. I didn't see, that's why I said I didn't need to introduce her. You're going to hear it for yourself. I just wanted you to feel like it was two people meeting, turning on two microphones and having
There
a
you go.
conversation, welcoming y'all into the room, into the room, you know. That's pretty much what this is about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I truly endorse that. I mean, if nothing else that you guys get from the series of releases, I endorse that 1000%. And I think if you play back these episodes, you'll find that that's been endorsed throughout, because really a lot of the things that we have to deal with, guys, it starts within. You know,
Yeah.
I don't care what your background looked like. I don't care what walk of life you've had. At some point during that time, you have to choose what you're going to be. That's
Yeah.
the reality of it. And rather you find discrepancies within your lifestyle or what you've been taught in the teachings, you have to decide what you're willing to pack, what you're willing to keep, what you're willing to unpack, where
Yeah.
you need that
Yeah.
refresher. Let's start over. Policy wise and legislatively, I'm with you. We need a reform, a major one, but we can't require out of individuals what they don't even know they have, you know.
Yeah.
So it's
Exactly.
like, take a moment, learn you, and then
That's a hard pill
approach
to
it.
swallow sometimes,
Yeah,
but
it is. Listen, I play sacrificial lamb right now. It's definitely a hard pill to swallow. There are things about each of us as our own self that we do not like.
yeah.
I'll be the first one to raise my hand. Ain't got to wait on nobody else. There's things about me I do not like, but I am intentional about those
Yeah.
things and changing them, you know.
And then, really along with that, Trinice, is being able to have compassion for other people who are also trying to figure this out.
Right.
I think that, yes, we are becoming more polarized, but I think that it's important to recognize that sometimes we don't realize
Mm-hmm.
that we're falling into one or the other camp if we aren't becoming aware of what's going on. And so we need to have some compassion for what's happening, and being willing to listen to both sides, and to have, like, 100% so much grace for people and what
Right.
they're going through and what they're experiencing, because you know everybody believes that their perspective is legitimate, right?
Right.
Everybody believes that their cause is legitimate, and yet not being willing to listen to what the other person's saying is never going to get us anywhere.
Yeah.
And so it's I come from a place of saying, look, we need zero judgment policy. Like, there's judgment in the sense of, I need to protect myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying that. Like, when it starts crossing that line, like, okay, let's back away.
That's boundary. I'm
Yes,
learning that, but that's a
yes.
boundary. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I'm learning it.
yes.
I suck at boundaries, but I'm learning to establish them and stick to them. Because if not, it just leaves the door wide open for
Exactly.
endless flow of whatever, you know.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
that, because that's what I'm saying. You gotta have those boundaries to know, make that choice, right? Not just treading water and go sucked in and flow, go with the flow, but also being open-minded and having no judgment. Because I just think that that's just what leads to animosity and rifts between people that we should be able to try and build something together with, right?
Right.
So
Well, I do have a couple more other things for you just to discuss.
okay.
You've done a really good job thus far and just, you know,
Okay.
going with the flow of this. But my initial thing is, you know, how do you feel like you're doing those things with your kids, you know, embedding in them individuality,
Mm,
as well as a nice balance of what world they're going to live in, you know, because you
yeah.
don't want to create a, even though I'm with Emerson and Thoreau and being a nonconformist and, you know, transcendentalist movement all the way, but even that had flaws, right? It was a little
Right.
bit too extreme. But when you embed individuality, you know, in the future so much, there are some things that can miss along the way. I think you'd agree with that. And so
Mm-hmm.
where are you finding a balance, and how are you instilling that in your children?
You know, we work on our kids to be producers, and that we're not just simply consumers. We need to develop ourselves and figure out those gifts and talents and skills that we can cultivate, that
Mm-hmm.
then become our capacity to live fulfilling and productive lives. It's going back to this concept and this idea of success. It's not just about monetizing, it's not just about money and material possessions. Those things can be very superficial, but what ultimate success is my life satisfying? Am I doing things that I feel like I'm contributing and building a legacy? So, a lot of what we do with our kids is we help teaching them and helping them to develop those skills, develop things that can allow them to be part of the solution and to solve problems rather than being part of the problem, right?
Right.
And so, so we talk about so going back to my analogy of family culture being about a road trip,
Mm-hmm.
once you figure out what kind of vehicle you're in, you got to know where you're navigating this thing to, right? And so we talk about what is our destination. Okay, that translates as mission. What do you ultimately want to become? And then I talk about I compare our vision to a global positioning system. So actually it's like, well, even though we think we know what our destination is, right, we might start on that journey and go, wait a second, I think I took a wrong turn somewhere. I need to figure out where I am in this world. So I bust out my GPS, and that gives me a better vision, a better picture, 10,000-foot view of where I am and my place in this world. That's where you visualize, what is my life doing? And so we actually do this exercise with our kids where we'll say, okay, what are we going to visualize today? And somebody will suggest, oh, I want to visualize what I want to be when I grow up, or I want to visualize where we're going to be in 5 years, or I want to visualize our dream home, or it's so fun with the things they come up with. But a lot of times that's where it is. It's, we say, okay, what do you want to do with your life? What do you think you'll be doing in 20 years from now? And my kids are little, so their imagination
It's
it doesn't
wild.
stretch too much, but
Somewhere between wearing a football helmet and being an astronaut, right?
right, something like that. But it's a start. If kids don't have a dream, then what is the point? If they don't know that there's something to envision or imagine for their lives. And so that vision is what becomes their how and their why. And the more you visualize it, the more you subconsciously gravitate towards it. So it's and it becomes this, you know, I define hope as knowing that there is a way to
Yeah.
that destination and being able to navigate a way, even if it isn't the way that I envision every time. It's knowing that there is a way. And
Right.
so having a vision is like that. It's like knowing that whatever the destination, that mission that I feel driven to do, there's a way to fulfill it. And I'm going to follow this journey wherever it takes me and roll with any of the detours and stuff so that I can figure out who I am along the way. And it becomes hope. So that's where
Right.
that's that GPS that guiding you. You're like, okay, I think I lost my way, but I need to check back in.
Yeah.
And then and then the next step is having a compass. So that's your core values. So we do talk about core values with our kids. We talk about, that we have a faith, or that we have values in our health, and in kindness, and in trust, and in communication. These are all things that are our core values.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times when in a family we're going, well, these are the rules and this is what it is, so that's because I'm the mom, and so that's what I say, that's how it goes. And your kids are going, why? And so at some point they're going to rebel against you. So that's why it's important to define your core values and have a compass that guides you, and guides you to know what the answers are when you come up against a difficult question. And those values also define the policies that you make in your family. So those are the street signs, the traffic lights, the different things that we encounter on this journey that help to keep us safe. And they're guidelines and rules for how to operate this machinery in this life, so that we can get along with other people, that we can be safe, that we don't end up driving off a cliff or something like that, So those are the different things that we talk about for navigating this life, so that they have a purpose, right? And know that, like you said about boundaries are there because they show our children that we care, and it's not just that, okay, we're going to let you guys explore and do whatever you want, because that becomes permissive, and then that communicates to our kids that we don't care ultimately. Yeah, we want to be friends with our kids. No, you don't. You want to be a guide and a mentor, and you want to have clear boundaries, because that communicates that you care and that you love them. So that's
and I think eventually down the line, like later on in life, it ends up being a more friendlier relationship,
right?
If it's done properly, if it's done right,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. Scares me about parenting. Thanks. No, I'm like,
no, Trinity, this is, you know what I mean? This is like, no, thank you for saying that, because honestly, like, I when I see people who are like, I never want to be a parent, I'm like,
no, I'm not to
it's
that
not
point.
That bad.
No. Let me clear that up. Okay, so if I look down in this moment and see that my belly is swollen, I may be a little bit panicked, just because it's dawning on me the responsibility of seeing this kid through, right? Well, that would be my concern. And then when they actually get here, like, I can have all these ideas, but then they get here, it's like practicality.
They do throw a wrench in your plans, right?
Just by being there, like.
Well, but Trinice, think about it, though, if you have these things implementing in your life, right? If you are becoming more aware of you and what you do and the things you say and the goals that you have, then you're gonna, it's like,
yeah, but I like ghosting on things. That's a problem. I can't quite do that with a child, so it's like, nah, I'm kind of binded here forever, so.
Okay. So this brings me to my next. Okay, no, this brings me to the
you
next
have a question for me? Okay.
No. I want to tell you about the next process of this family culture, because I talked about defining your vehicle and I talked about navigating. But when you have like a car, right? It's gonna get flat tires. It's gonna need oil changes. It needs fuel. It needs all this stuff, right? Family life is the same way. There needs to be some strategies for how you're gonna maintain this thing. Okay. This is where it gets okay. No. Okay, so first of all, the fuel in the vehicle is trust.
Okay, trust. Gotcha.
Trust comes from vulnerability and being imperfect.
Look.
Okay.
Look, I got walls. Look. No. Even with a child. No, look, you can be a part of me.
You'll be surprised.
No, I'm kidding. It's exciting. I don't know. I'm 26, so I got a little bit of time. I'm not trying to rush to that point. I'm in the phase right now working on me first. You understand? Cool. So that I can present the best version of myself, even though that version will probably be a little flawed too, but it'll be a little better than where I am now. So I'm open to it. I'm not set on not having kids. Listen, I know for a fact there's some kids somewhere that have already chosen me. Now that I stand by, but just don't choose me by next year. Yeah, no, don't make no appearances now, because I'm not ready for that X game. Look, but it kind of segues.
It's a beautiful thing.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
all good.
Oh, I see the light in you and other parents, you know, that light up every time they talk about their kids, and I'm happy for y'all. I truly am. No, segue to your podcast though, because I don't want too much time to be spent and people not know how to tune in. I think it's a great podcast, and if you guys are enjoying the conversation we're having, you'll definitely enjoy her podcast, her Facebook group. So if you want to kind of talk a little bit about your podcast and tell people where they can follow you, go for it.
Great. Thank you. So you can find my landing page at homeandfamilyculture.com. And I've been doing this podcast for about 4 years almost. And so it started out really kind of investigating what this is. Like, how do I succeed as a family, let alone in life, right? And so that was where it started out. I was just like, I want to learn from the best and learn from experts, you know? And over the years of doing this, I've really come up with these frameworks like, okay, this isn't just, we're not here to just wing it, right? We're not here to just flip a coin at every intersection and hope everything works out. That there's a way to have a plan and to trust yourself and your instincts and give yourself grace, and it's okay.
Oh, don't be trying to put them subliminals in there for me. I caught that. Stick to the plan. Okay, I'm kidding.
No, it's you can come and listen, and like you said, Trinice, it's not just about families. It's everything that I talk about is like I learned to myself. You know, it's like, this is whether or not I had a family. Like, I need to know this stuff. Right. I need to be intentional about this path that I'm on. I don't want to just go with the main dominant culture that is so flawed and so dysfunctional, right? I want to be able to make an impact for good in this world. And so that's really what it's about. And I have, like you said, the Facebook group where I stream I screen my podcast episodes in the Facebook group. And I also have a free membership area where I curate some of the content from my guests and stuff like that. So that's all.
It's a pretty cool experience. I've never seen a podcaster create that type of experience for their followers. Like, I enjoy it. Like, I get on Facebook and I see a notification about one being screened. I'm like, okay, let me tune in. And it's always a pleasant conversation. I always learn something out of it. I think the more recent one was the one with the lady. I can't remember her name. She was talking about voting for the first time.
Yep.
Yeah. Lisa, that was really interesting. Because really I know powerful. Some first time voters this year. And that's exciting. So guys, let me just speak on that a little bit, because I did release an episode. I think I titled it "Voting is Crucial," because it is this season. Like, and so I do want to say kudos to anyone who's voting for the first time this year. I don't care how long it's been since you last voted or you've never voted. Definitely do that as much as possible, because it's something that's needed, and you can't have an opinion on something if you're not weighing in where it matters. At the end of the day. But it is a big step. If you're a first time voter, or if you're voting for the first time in many years, because I've seen that, you know, where people were voting early on, but they just stopped. Kudos to you.
Take your part, step up and be, you know, like I said, we vote with our wallets, we vote with the things that we consume. Right. Well, you literally vote when you take out that ballot and you fill it out, right? And it's important. It's super important.
Plug the Instagram feed. It's the same title.
Family Culture Podcast is the handle on Facebook and Instagram. So
I didn't want to blurt out Family Culture Movement. I was like, I think it may be podcast, so I'm just let her handle that. And what I'm gonna do is add that graphic to make sure that it's in there right. Perfect. So people can find you. But y'all definitely check Jody out. You're more than welcome. I appreciate the confidence in my parenting ability. No, I'm kidding. The encouragement, but don't be I'm playing, but y'all definitely find Jody. Oh, don't be I caught that. See, I was signing off. Y'all see, I'm trying to sign off.
It's all about all of your relationships, Trinice. It's okay. It's okay.
Lord. Listen, okay. Got to get to that after this. No, but for real, y'all definitely follow the both of us on those social media feeds. Like I always leave y'all, man, be blessed in every day that God gives you. Your life is full of purpose. Until next time, deuces.